I would like to welcome you to another amazing episode of You Were Designed for Greatness. This podcast is from Vibrant Living International, and I'm Donna, if we haven't met. I Vibrant Living's mission is to empower people's spirit, soul, and body. And we created this podcast to be an inspiration and to provide tools and tips and strategies to help us to live vibrantly. And one of the things that I do is I have amazing guests that I share with you. I like that word amazing, I think. And so today I have Rhonda with me. I'm going to bring her on, and she is going to be sharing with us her story and what is happening in her life. Welcome, Rhonda. How are you today?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Donna. Grateful to be here.
And where do you find yourself in the world? Where do you live?
Oh, so I am actually located in the Midwest. So I'm in Wisconsin, and we're just coming out of, the cold season. And
Hopefully.
yes, and it's officially spring. So I'm finally feeling, a little bit of a spring in my step, if you will.
Yes. Awesome. And tell us about your whatever you'd like to do about your family, about what you do.
Yeah, so let's see, where do I even start? So I am married. I've been married for almost 23 years, and we have three teenage daughters, 17,
Ooh.
16, and 14. It is, yes, yes. Very interesting. Lots of emotion, lots of drama, but
Uh-huh.
also lots of really like tender, great moments too. So,
Yes, and so much
um,
fun.
yeah. They're all in
Um,
sports, so that's been, I find a lot of times on the weekends, right, where, I always say I'm like the crazy basketball mom who's
mhm.
got my stadium seat and my coffee and cheering like crazy, and I'm
Yes.
in my happy place.
And it makes so many memories. I did
Yeah.
that, just mine was soccer, but did all of that, so yes. And soccer's outside though, so I have coats and umbrellas and
Yes, and that's just starting. My husband actually coaches junior high girls soccer, which is a
Mhm.
whole new, a whole new situation. I'm like all the drama outside in the cold. Yeah. It takes great patience to deal with, 25 junior high girls.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's where we're at in our life. It's busy and exciting, and then at the same time, you're thinking, okay, 5 years from now, we're gonna have, no kids at home, which is
Yeah,
just really bizarre.
it
When you
is
have your
bizarre.
kids so close together,
It's
it's
bizarre how fast it happens.
yeah, yeah.
So what do you do today professionally?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of the Women's Financial Wellness Center, and we are again located, obviously in the Midwest, but I work with clients all over the country.
Mhm.
And right now, so this year I'm actually starting my ninth year in business, and prior to that, I had been in the financial industry as a more traditional advisor, and my husband and I worked together and built a really great business. But I all along found I had a deep passion for educating and empowering women, particularly around the finances. And I decided to leave in 2014 and open Women's Financial Wellness Center. And so what I did was I always say, like, I'm a small town girl. I grew up in a small town.
Mhm.
But I always knew that there was more. I always knew that I had a greater purpose. I always knew that I wanted to be making an impact on the world. And even as a kid, I was wired that way.
Yeah, me too.
Um, and when I left the industry, opened up, leased space, I said, listen, this small town girl has a business plan, a desire to change the world. And I just kind of like, marched over and started my thing and have not looked back. I mean, it's been absolutely fantastic. But I think the one thing that's been interesting too is, even when we look at, and we can reflect back, I think for me, a real defining moment was, and sometimes we have to pull up these memories when we find ourselves in a position of having to make these big decisions or what feel like big decisions. I mean, I was walking away from my licensure of, being in the financial industry and
Mhm.
giving financial advice and things like that. I let that go because I wanted to create a model that was independent of financial planning, financial product sales, and insurance sales.
Mhm.
And my mostly male colleagues were like, "This train has gone off the tracks. Like, we don't know how the heck she's going to be making any money. Like, this is the most ludicrous thing we've ever heard." And then 2 years later, I had the opportunity to actually buy office space, and we did an open house, and some of those guys came, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we always knew she was really great in business. Right. And you heckled the crap out of me when I was there, so whatever."
Oh, there's nothing like that silent revenge.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. But, through that time, I mean, I look back, when I first started in the financial industry, I was in my late 20s and I didn't really know anything about money. I mean,
Right.
I had a lot of trauma around money. My dad
Yep.
was addicted to gambling, was also an alcoholic. Like, there was just a
Yeah.
lot of things that traumatize your relationship with money.
Yep.
But I knew there had to be a better way, and I just surrounded myself with people that knew more than I did and became a
Right.
student of learning everything that I possibly could.
Yeah.
And I and really with the intention to say, "Listen, I know that I'm not alone in this. How can I, put on my oxygen mask, if you will, so I can bring other people with me?"
Yeah.
And it was really at, 11 years old, I had done some public speaking and realized very quickly that I had a real gift. And looking back at it now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised I wasn't more overwhelmed in the moment. But 11 years old, I was doing a speaking competition
Mhm.
and had some amazing mentors that helped, today, a lot of those skills that I bring with me helped me craft very emotional, results driven
Mhm.
advocacy type presentations. And I gave this presentation and I look around, and of course, it's all adults, right? Within a 5-minute period, they were laughing and crying. And I stood there thinking, I have the opportunity to impact
Yeah.
people. And I want to use this skill for greatness. And that public speaking skill has been something that I've taken with me my whole entire life and can move people to change. I can it's been cool. So when I first started in the financial industry, my first thing was I'm only doing this if I can do public speaking. I don't want to be stuck behind a desk crunching numbers. I
Mhm.
have to be talking to people. I have to be impacting people. And oh, by the way, yeah, the financial stuff's important, but having that energy, and it's
Yeah.
really served me well. And now, looking back, the work that I'm doing now with speaking and writing and educating and developing curriculum and all this stuff, like you do, it's those skills have really been important. And now today we've been able to help, I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women from across the country because we've been able to get out a message of hope for women, particularly that are contemplating or going through divorce. That's really the niche that I have decided to
Mhm.
work in. And it's not because I've gone through divorce. A lot of times people say, well, have you gone through divorce? No, I've gone through my own set of
Yes.
trauma
Right.
that I've had to deal with. And God has given me the opportunity to be able to pour into other people
Yeah.
because I've worked through a lot of those things on the emotional side. And a lot of times my clients think I've gone through divorce only because I'm so in tune with it. But I'm in
Yeah.
tune with them because I know the process. I'm in tune with them because I understand the pain, the
Yeah.
disappointment, the frustration, the heartache that comes from being in dysfunctional situations and abuse.
Yes.
That's where I can relate with them.
Absolutely. It doesn't I often say we don't have to have the same I may not have been through a divorce, but I know what rejection feels like, and I know what failure feels like. I know what all of those uh, dysfunctional relationships kind of thing can look like. It may not have been in my marriage, but they were there. And
Yeah.
so figuring out how to um, trim and we relate.
Yeah.
We just do. Pain is pain. Rejection is rejection. It is across the board. I love how you mix money and wellness. That's one of my favorite things. I remember when every people listening, and you probably remember, I was a mom at 15. So trying to figure that out and grew up where we never lacked anything, but there was always this feeling of lack. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, we gleaned fields. I grew up in the South. We picked up potatoes behind they were broken, but all the things, done all of those things to try to feed our family and to make things work. So there was always this feeling there wasn't enough. And I remember when we first got married, my husband got a raise at work and they gave him the annual increase. And I looked at him kind of with glazed eyes and like, how much is that a week?
Hmm.
Because I could not comprehend how an annual income, how many zeros is that? How does that work? It was just because of all of that. And so someone else may not be that severe, but we have this feeling of uncertainty, of
Mhm.
not knowing. So what are some tips that you give around finances?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so one of the things that we'll often do is it starts with the awareness of, what are some of those things that we find ourselves avoiding, or it creates anxiety
Mhm.
for us or whatever. I think that I always look at it kind of in three phases. The awareness, right? It doesn't mean that we're changed. We just have to become aware. Then the education around addressing those things. And then, okay, the action, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And so we have a quiz, and maybe I can include the link if anybody would like to
Yes.
take it. But it's a financial personality quiz, and really it's intended for women to be able to say, okay, yeah, am I an avoider? Am I a dreamer? Am I
Mhm.
an analytical person? And I always tell people it's very important when they take it. It's not intended to be judgmental in any way. It's intended to create that awareness. But the caveat to that, and the intention behind the quiz, is simply that it's the knowledge plus the experience that builds our confidence. And it's a
Mhm.
process and it takes time, but we can do it step by step. And when we have the knowledge, if we have the knowledge without the experience, it's theory. If we have the experience without the knowledge, it's trial and error. But when we get those two things working together, man,
Yes.
women in particular can make really good decisions. And we also have to, so the awareness, we also have to be willing to leave the shame and the guilt at the door, because
Mhm.
it's not serving us. It's not helping. We can't change it. Um, we have to be able to work through some of those things and be willing to do that, in an effort to really change our relationship with money.
Yes. Now, the awareness, we don't realize how big that particular step is because until I am aware of my relationship with money, I don't know how to change it. It's just normal, if you will,
Yeah.
and figuring out, oh, it can be different and learning how to do that. Oh,
Yeah.
so yes, definitely. We will put the link to that assessment, the quiz in the show notes and or wherever you're watching this so that that can be available to you and you can check that out as well. So when we are getting a little bit close to the end here, what are some other thoughts that you would like to share today about what you're doing, what you've seen? Tell a story, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think at the end of the day, when we look back at kind of, where we've been and where we're headed, I think, you know, the biggest thing that I can say is that if people are feeling um yeah, uncertain, right, around what's
Mhm.
next, or uncertain around, I think one of the things that has been helpful for me is to take a look back and just say, okay, what are some of the challenges that I've had? How did I get through that? What did I learn from some of those things? Because I think, historically, when we look back, we find that we probably are more equipped to deal with some of the challenges that we might be facing than we realize. And I'll give a quick example. So I was working with a lady and she was going through divorce, and she'd been married for a really long time, so over 20 years. And she was feeling really overwhelmed around the financial aspect, which is to be expected. Um, and as we were kind of going through that exercise, what she realized was 5 years prior, both of her parents, within a short period of time, had passed, and she was the
Mhm.
power of attorney for that estate, right? And a
Mhm.
lot of times it's like, that's a really great, honor. It basically it is, and a lot of work. And she navigated
Yeah.
through that. I mean, she did all the things. And I said, "Do you realize like you totally managed post, estate stuff with your parents? You totally can do this. There's so many similarities." And it was just that little reminder, like, I've done this something similar.
Yeah.
I've had a challenge that I've overcome, and now I can bring that into this space. So I think that reflection back can be helpful for us. And just looking at it with a fresh lens to say, what experiences have I been through in the past that I can draw on as I'm looking forward?
So, if someone is in need of some support and some clarity, I think that's a really good word for where people find themselves in the midst of life changing events that we never expected. It's like, I didn't expect to be here. And
Yeah.
here I am. And all of the blame and the shame and the anger and all of the things that go along with that. So, where can people get in touch with you if you find a
Yeah.
woman finds herself in that place?
Yeah, absolutely. So, two things. One is my website, so wfwcdivorce.com. And from there, that we have blog articles. I also have my own podcast called Divorce Conversations for Women, so they can either find that on the website or any of the podcast channels. But those
Mhm.
are probably the two best ways. And then on our website, there is a quiz to say, hey, what's my next best move? What should I be
Okay.
doing? I'm feeling overwhelmed. So those are probably the two best avenues that people can check out to get in touch with me.
That sounds beautiful. So we will put all of the information in the show notes as well to be able to get in touch with you. I encourage you to do so. So thank you, Rhonda, so much for being here with us today and sharing your light.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Well, thank you for being a listener to You Were Designed for Greatness. Remember to share, download, and give reviews are much appreciated. And check out Rhonda's information. If it isn't for you, check it out because you probably know some woman who is going through a relationship challenge or divorce. Let's share the resources that can help us shine and overcome and live vibrantly. That's what this podcast and everything I do is all about. Always remember, I'm just a phone call away, and I would love to chat with you as well, helping you turn your baggage into luggage and life by design so that you can live vibrantly. So until next time that I am with you, this is Donna wishing you an amazing day, and I will talk with you soon. Bye for now.